We're living in a business world now where there's a level of transparency that we probably take for granted that 10, 15, 20 years ago was unheard of. I was browsing LinkedIn over the weekend and I saw one example, one business, where they had a company-wide period policy. And this was a female member of their team who was having cramps on her period, and she'd put in her, I think it was her email signature. So somebody sends her an email, they get a bounce back reply, and I think it was something to the effect of, I'm sorry, I'm working a little bit slower today. I won't get back to you as soon as normal. The cramps are killing me. And she felt comfortable and able to do that because she was supported by her company, by her bosses, by the environment around her. They had that policy in place, and she's able to do that, which is fantastic. It's great. But even now, for some companies, they've still maybe got a bit to go before they get to that stage. But there's a level of transparency. There's an individual member of staff who feels comfortable enough to share with her colleagues and her superiors that that's how she's feeling today, and that's what she's going through. And at the other end of the scale, we've got companies who go into administration or liquidation, and the staff are saying, how can that be? We thought everything was fine. Just last week we were celebrating, hey, good news and ready for another year and everything's good, going good. And how can that be? Well, how it can be is because they weren't privy to the full detail of exactly how that company was performing. We see examples all the time. Try putting some company names into the Companies House website and you'll see businesses where they've taken funding from a bank, and the terms of that mean that the bank has a floating charge over all the assets of that business. And if you go and read the fine print, you'll find that some of these situations, and I'm not talking here about anybody specific, but some of these situations, the business basically can't do anything without the bank's approval. If they missed one loan repayment, if a key member of staff left, if the bank just decided, we're calling this in, and if you can't repay it, then they can make life very difficult for you. They can put you into administration. They can put you into liquidation. So should we be sharing that level of financial information with our staff? And I can well understand why it might not come naturally to businesses, but I always say if you're transparent on the way in, it makes things a damn sight easier on the way out. And many of our businesses have created this culture where the staff have this expectation that you are telling them everything. We've said you're part of our team. We've said you have a voice. We've told our staff and we've told our customers through social media and all the internal comms channels, we've said, look, you really matter. We're a community. This is not one of these old style businesses that your mum and dad used to work for. This is a community. We're sharing everything. Right down to, if you got cramps on your period, hey, that's fine. Stick it in your email reply. It's this culture now where we have an expectation of transparency. And what really annoys people is if you're selective with the transparency. One of the old radio stations I used to work for about 20 years ago had a fantastic company culture. And they made one change without telling anybody. And it kind of shone a spotlight on that business for me that they were being transparent when it suited them. And when it didn't suit them, the culture wasn't there. It's just the same as everybody else. And I absolutely get it, but we have to keep in mind how that makes people feel. We've cultivated a culture now where people, they genuinely feel part of this family, and they're sharing things sometimes about themselves that, you know, they'd only do that with people that they really trust. They've bought into this culture of transparency. And if the business itself can't, then there's a real disconnection there. And all you're doing is storing up problems for the future. So it's not going to be easy. But, you know, if you take a loan from a bank, it's going to be public anyway. It's sitting on the accounts. And you really think that your own staff don't Google the company name that they don't search for the company name on Company House? Of course they do. Of course they do. It's how you tell them and what reasons you're giving, and how do you put in place a support structure so as if they do realise, oh my God, they've taken £250,000 from Santander or Bank of Scotland or TSB or whoever it is, how are you going to explain what that means? But I'll tell you, the expectation of transparency is definitely there, and it's going to change the way businesses communicate, and it's going to change the detail and the level of information that you're sharing. And I think financial details and loans and funding and all that stuff, you need to be telling your own staff what's going on.